So here in the second turn of Fleet, the auction opens up, and the first player plays, put a bid in on the processing vessel, realizing he needs to start converting cubes, getting money, stuff like that. $5, he's willing to do it. Now, it means he's not going to be able to launch a ship, because he's not going to have the cash for it. He's not going to be able to do anything exciting and improve his position. He does get this the processing vessel license. That'll allow him to process fish and, start cranking money. The only other person to buy a license, this guy picked up a shrimp license. He's not going to have any cards left afterwards. He'll be getting a card after the captain phase, but that's too late to really do anything much with it. Other players held their cards. We get to see the next couple of these, see what comes up. We got another tuna. Nobody took the last one. And we got another shrimp. People will have more money next turn, and it won't be as hard a choice what to do. The people who held cards had things that they could launch. All right, and now, speaking of which, we'll go to that launch phase, and I'll be back. Very briefly, we only saw a couple of launches here. He sent out a processing vessel and captained it. This guy just got a card. This guy managed to get a lobster boat out and captained it. He actually had to pay an extra $1 because he had a $3 card, and this is a $2 cost ship. No biggie there. All right, now we get to fish. And here's the bonus of having multiple ships, right? You get more crates of fish. And now you get to process and trade. This guy has the first option. What does he want to do? Well, it seems worth it to me to turn one cube in and then spend it for a card. Just toss the dead cubes up here, and he gets a bonus card for trading. And then over here, well, he'll do the same thing. Cards are good. Now, you always want to know, late in the game, those cubes are worth victory points. You certainly don't want to have too many cubes over on your processing. This guy can't do anything. These guys can't do anything. They need to get processing vessels, and there aren't any coming up. That puts us on the draw phase, and I think everybody's still at draw 2, keep 1, right? It's the tuna that starts giving you different draw situations, so other than what they produced, that's the end of another turn. Okay, well, for purchases, this guy just didn't have enough money to buy a license and launch a ship, and he decided launching a ship's more valuable, and in fact the fourth player made the same decision. This guy said, I think the best thing I can do money-wise is I can buy this tuna license for $4 because I have a $4 card. The way his cards worked out, that worked well for him. He's got the $1 off for the shrimp. That's a nice combination for him. This guy said, well, I think the best thing I can do is buy another license as well because I can't really launch a ship and captain it. Well, maybe. Oh, no, he wouldn't be able to. This guy could have perhaps... well, he's actually set up where he wants to launch a ship because he gets the extra card, and that gives him more flexibility. So that's where he's going to go, and we'll see how they launch in a moment. Before we do that, let's take a quick look at what we get. We get a cod coming up, and another processing vessel. And there's people who really, really want that processing vessel at this point. Only 2 of the players have them. Of course, getting multiple processing vessels is also kind of nice because you can turn cubes into cards faster. And we've pushed around the board, moving this into place again. Everybody, of course, produced. The people with processing vessels processed 1 cube each so that they could grab cards. And you're seeing, we're beginning to see a pile of the dead cubes there. Some people without processing vessels are getting in trouble here. We got 3 cubes here, 3 cubes here. They don't have a use. Next turn they'll produce their 4th cube, and that's all those ships can hold if they don't get a processing vessel license to dump them on. They don't need a processing vessel. Processing vessels are just ships that catch processed fish, right? You still got to send it to the processing plant, though, to reprocess it. All right. Yeah, I don't know quite what it matters what the fishing aspect is. You can fish with any boat. The licenses are not really tied to what you catch, etc. In the same way, in a way that I really like. However, the mechanics are kind of interesting to this. The choices that you have to make are interesting. We'll get more into that when I hit the review. But we're on to another turn. So for this auction, the first player put the processing ship down here up for auction, bid 5 on it with his buck back, but he got overbid by this guy. This guy went up to a 7 bid. Nobody was touching that. Brings it to him. He bought a cheap because of his shrimp ship, tuna ship. It's a matter of the cards he has. He could have bid $5 on, say, the other shrimp, but he said, well, let me see if I can get the tuna. Whatever I get, we're going to assume these prices are kind of balanced, and the tuna should be worth more to me than the shrimp, perhaps. I'm not sure. Okay, brings it to this guy. He just didn't have the money to do anything, even with his processing vessel going. But this guy had enough cash with his shrimp boat, which are coming in, of course, to buy himself another shrimp boat at a buck off. And now he's got $2 off on everything. That's going to allow him to launch a ship more cheaply, in fact for free, which is important. Now here we got a big 10 victory points. Of course it costs at least $10. Here's another 10-bucker. 5 victory points base, but the more different types of licenses you have, and you can see some of the people have a collection. Well, this guy especially has 3 different licenses on 3 cards. This guy has 3 on 4 cards, which, you know, and then another lobster license. And these are important because they're victory points as well as whatever special abilities they give. Of course, some of them are really just victory points. All right, that puts us to the launching, and I'm not sure I'll come back after that. I come back before the end of the turn, though, or at the end of the turn. Here's one problem. I just did the launching phase. Nobody had the money and the right ships aligned. This guy, for example, I thought, well, I'm in good shape here. He was holding these 2 cards, 2 COD cards. He could have put one down for free, but he doesn't have a COD license, so he can't play those. So, well, he got his bonus card from his lobsters, but nobody launched a new ship. And we move a little turn marker ahead again. Gotta find my other die. There it is. Just to mark it up at the beginning of the turn. Processing was done at maximum speed, which means this guy drew 2 extra cards for his processing. He needs to make up for, you know, the past turn, but everybody's in this place where they're kind of frozen right now. Still seeing the cubes running down, though, and the pile going down. Some people, like this poor guy, he needs a processing ship. Well, there aren't any. He can't get one. This guy sitting on 4, he can't get one. So now we're going to start seeing where the economic engine of the game doesn't kick in because they weren't able to buy. They weren't willing. This guy could have bid enough to get one. He just didn't realize what this guy had in his hand, and that he'd be willing to spend his entire turn to get another processing vessel to start cranking more cards. And these are the kind of decisions that you gotta make. Hey, is this worth it? Is this worth it? Can I get away with this? You don't get boned out of a selection. You can, if you have the cash, you can always pick something up, but it might not work as well. So for example, this cod might have worked better with his hands. He probably shouldn't have taken the tuna, but you never know. And he got the tuna cheaper. He would have had to play more cards for the cod, I think. So a bit of fighting over the licenses. First player didn't want anything. Second player put up this here cod at $4. $4 worked well for him. He had $4 of cards. That gave him one extra thing, but he could launch the ship. He didn't have the cash on hand to launch the ship. If he had cubes here, and this is one of the reasons you might want extra cubes on your processing vessels, not that he's had the option, he could spend them as cash, only $1 each. But whatever, he kind of wanted that. He couldn't get it. This guy would outbid him, bid up to $5. Notice he only paid $3, but he's got 2 shrimp, which reduces the cost of everything he's doing now, which is really kind of bonus. And then this guy settled for paying the rest of his cards for a lobster. This guy didn't want to pay because he can launch a ship if he doesn't buy, and couldn't launch one if he did. Now, launching ships may not be the best move, but launching a ship is not that far from the victory point gain you get from some of these licenses, but the licenses give other advantages. So it's this hard balance and trade-off. This guy's probably going too weak on licenses. He's just so far behind everyone else. But hey, maybe we'll find something out that we wouldn't know otherwise. Got to pull a couple more licenses out. All we've got is these premiums out here. Oh, another one. And another one. All the premiums out there. That makes buying licenses tougher, and this is really going to start putting the squeeze on the couple of people who don't have processing vessels. This guy and this guy. And we move forward again to the next turn. Again, maximum processing from the people who can process. The people who can't, well, they're beginning to clog up their ships, unable to push anything through. They've got a real problem because there's nothing that can help them here. Getting more ships doesn't help. It helps them towards their eventual victory, but they can't do anything with those cubes. So they've got ships out there that aren't producing, and that's your engine in this game. It's the ships and the cubes and the processing plants. That's how you improve your production, along with these other licenses. But there aren't any licenses available. By the way, this king crab's different. This king crab gives you +1 per captain you have out at the end of the game. This one gives you it by different things. So the different king crabs give you different bonuses. The fisherman's pub, always just 10 victory points. This guy actually threw an extra cube on there, figuring, hey, if I need an extra buck, I got it. It's not a big deal to pull cubes off my ships, and I'll do that now because the game's not going to end that quickly. In fact, there's a lot of game left. There's still all these boats. There's still all these fleet cards. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to wrap this one up, send it up, and, well, there's at least one more video. And I think the game's going to take a decent amount of time left.